Hey, hello everybody. This is Ralph, and in this video, what I want to do is do a little fuller explanation of how to do cartomancy, divination using playing cards, and I'm going to take it just suit by suit, one video at a time. In this video, we will cover the suit of clubs, which corresponds to the tarot suit of wands and rods. So for this demonstration here, I went all out. I'm using a cheap little dime store deck of playing cards. Got this from Dollar General back when the price was only $1 for a deck. I think now they're about $3. But just to demonstrate that you can do divination or cartomancy with ordinary playing cards. The magic is not in the deck. The magic is within you, in your creative imagination, how you interpret the cards. And what we're going to be relying on for this interpretation are the numerical values, the numerology of each of the cards. And then we'll also bring in the elemental uh, correspondences to the interpretation. Now, when you're actually doing a reading, you don't have to put a whole lot of weight on the element unless it corresponds to the question. Like if you're doing a love and relationships reading and a hearts comes up, I would put a whole lot of weight on that hearts. But if something else comes up, like pentacles or clubs here, you may not want to weight it down that much. You just have to use your own intuition when interpreting these cards. But what I'm going to cover in this video is the general numerology behind each of these cards and the archetypes that correspond to that numerology. Because in numerology, as in tarot, each number has its own archetype. Just like in tarot, every card has its archetype. And by understanding the numerology of the card and the archetypal power or correlation to that card, you can actually do a pretty darn good interpretation of each of the cards. So let's get started. The first three cards we have to go through, and we're going to be going through ace to king in the suit of clubs. First one is the ace. And the ace, a common archetype that can be applied to the ace, is that of the leader. The leader, the individualist, the corporate CEO, think in terms of that. And key words that we can apply to the ace card would be a new concept, a new beginning, a new awareness. And we're dealing with clubs, corresponds to rods. We got the element of fire here. So I would say like a fiery leader could be represented by this card. Now the next card here, the two of clubs. Two stands for the diplomat, the archetype of the diplomat, the mediator. And of course, key words that we could apply to this would be that of choices to be made, opportunities to be had, things like that, duality, also partnerships, and networking on a smaller scale. So those are different meanings that we can apply to the twos in the playing cards. The three here, the archetype of the number three is the creator, also the communicator. Three is a number of creation and creativity. And so key words that we can apply to the three of clubs card here would be creativity, conception, and artistic, artistic beauty, artistic license, anything applying to the question that you're trying to answer and the idea of creativity and the archetype of the creator. Now, let's do the next three cards. I'll just lay them down here. We got the 4, we got the 5, we got the 6. Now, 4s. The 4, the archetype of number 4, is that of the builder or the manager. And key words that we can apply to the number 4. The 4 of clubs card here, the 4 of spades, not spades, clubs, 4 of wands in tarot, but would be stability. Stability, foundation, having a firm footing before you get involved in any undertaking. So yeah, the manager, the builder, and stability. Very good card. Number 5 here. 5 is the number, the archetype of the number 5 is the adventurer, the freedom seeker. You could also apply the rebel, actually, to this card, come to think of it. But yeah, think in terms of the archetype of the adventurer or the freedom seeker, the freedom fighter, and keywords that we can apply to the 5 of clubs card here would be change, reversal, things like that. So yeah, with the rebel card, the rebel archetype, you want to apply that to the number 5, it would be change, hopefully for the better, but sometimes not always. Sometimes rebels just want to burn everything down and not rebuild afterwards. In a more constructive sense of the adventurer or the freedom seeker, we can see change that is done in a constructive way. And each of these cards, by the way, I've more or less just given positive interpretations of each archetype and each keyword, but each archetype has a positive interpretation, can also have a negative interpretation. You just have to, with playing cards, there is no right side up or upside down. You just have to go by your own instincts, your own intuition, and how the card appears in the spread to interpret whether you should give this a positive spin or a negative spin. But every archetype's got their light side, they've got their dark side, just like human beings. And so, yeah, keep that in mind too when doing your interpretations. Now, the next card here, the 6. 6 is the number of the nurturer, the caretaker. You can think of the archetype of the nurse, the maid, even the mother. The mother is very strong with the number 6. Also, the father. Uh, any archetype that stands for love, nurturing, and taking care, preserving things. The preserver would be a strong archetype that we could apply to the number 6 too. And here with the number 6, keywords we could apply to it would be perseverance, love, family love, love in any kind of relationship. But yeah, very much love, tenderness, or if you wanted to give it a negative spin, the lack thereof. Maybe greed, jealousy, things like that, all those nasty things. That can also apply to the number 6. Now let's get our next set of 3. Got the 7, got the 8, we got the 9, and 7. The archetype that is associated with the number 7 is that of the thinker or the seeker. Various key words that we could apply to that would be confidence, vigilance. In so many different world religions, 7 is seen as the perfect number. So yeah, it could also be seen as the number of excellence, the number of perfection. So yeah, the thinker, the seeker would be the archetypes, and any other archetypes that you can think of that would run along the same line could also apply to this card, like that of the sage, that of the genius, that of the scientist. Just kind of let your imagination run with you, apply it to the question that you're trying to answer, and again, just let your intuition be your guide. Now, the next card here, number 8, archetypes associated with the number 8 would be the powerhouse, the executive, the CEO, and certain key words that we could apply to the number 8 here would be speed, strength, power. Again, in many different religious traditions, 7 is considered the perfect number. 8 is the number of, the next step up from perfection. And that can be interpreted as infinity. And you know what happens when we turn the 8 sideways? We get the infinity symbol. So yeah, infinity is also a key word that we could apply to the number 8 in any tarot suit, any playing card suit or tarot suit. In this case, we're doing playing cards. Now, the next card here, number 9. 9 is the number of the humanitarian, the sage. And the key words that we could apply to the number 9 would be attainment, inspiration, things like that. So pretty much you could see this as concluding a cycle, reaping the rewards that you have gained through going through that cycle, and preparing yourself for the cycle to come. In other words, you've gotten to the end of this test. You'll know whether or not you've passed or flunked that test in the coming days, and it's time for you to prepare to move on. Either repeat that test all over again or move on to another test. But yeah, attainment, either for good or for bad. And now the next 3 cards, we've got the 10, we've got the Jack, and we got the Queen. And with the 10, okay, that's also can be seen as attainment, but it's more or less like completion. It's you've reached the final stage, and you have left that old cycle behind, and you are beginning a whole new cycle. And the numerological meaning of 10, if you drop the 0 or just add 1 plus 0, what answer does that get you? Gets you 1. So actually 10s can be seen as a whole new ace. And of course, the ace, the 1, that's the number of the leader, the individualist. And so yeah, similar meaning with the number 10. You can have that as being end of cycle, beginning of new cycle, new concept, new awareness. All those interpretations can apply. Now, the next card, and this one, in playing cards, it's kind of tricky because normally when I see the Jack, okay, I think of that as being the Knight, but it's not the Knight. Jack corresponds in tarot to the understanding of the Knave or the Page or the Princess. So with the Jack, we can get the understanding that this is like a beginner, not a master, and a person that is closely tied to the earth. Pages, the princess, the knave, however you see it in the tarot decks, they are all earth elements. And so when you see the Jack here, think earth element. Think like, I tend to think of student, a beginner, someone who is getting ready to take action, but, maybe isn't quite ready to take action, but they're just getting started. So, and again, in the context of an actual reading, if you look at this card and you see a knight instead of a princess, instead of a knave, I would say go ahead and run with that interpretation. Because what matters isn't what the card actually means, talking about the book definition of the card, but what the card means to you and your intuition in relation to the question that you are trying to answer. And so, yeah, you can take one quick look at that and think of if the image of a knight pops into your head, then give it the interpretation of the knight instead of the knave. And in that respect, the knight stands for taking action, skilled action, fast action. and applying that to the element of clubs, that's the element of fire, then you would be seeing fast action, fiery action. And of course, the knight, if you interpret that Jack as being a knight, then it's not an earth element anymore, it's the air element. So the airy part of fire, which would be a very intense fire. So, yeah, those are two possible interpretations that we can have with the Jack, either that of the page in tarot or the knight, depending on what your intuition is telling you. Strictly, it would be the page, but when it comes to interpreting playing cards and doing divination, you can just have a lot of poetic license at your disposal. Now, the next card here is the Queen. She is the next to last card here. And the Queen stands for nurturing. I tend to think of the queens in relation to the number 6. But yeah, a nurturer, a good caretaker, or, lack thereof. But yes, power and understanding, power and nurturing. I tend to think of like the mother or a female CEO that treats her company like she does her family. Those archetypes could apply. But yeah, definitely a woman of great power who also has the capacity for deep caring and nurturing, or might exhibit the lack of those qualities too, in the negative sense. So yeah, and here with the queen, queens are tied to the element of water, and of course with clubs here, that's going to be fire. So fire and water being mixed together. In a love and romance type of a reading, I would look at the queen, this particular queen, the queen of clubs, and think, okay, this could represent passion. I mean, steamy, hot passion. So yeah, in a love and relationships reading, if I'm reading for a woman, I might think, okay, that could apply to the seeker asking the question. If it's a question like, is he seeing somebody else? A question we don't like to answer because I don't like talking about people behind their back. But it could represent a mistress and kind of a hot, spicy relationship going on. But if we're looking at that kind of a question, I would say the question should not be, is he cheating? But the question should rather be something like, what can I do to repair this relationship? Or what can I do to make this relationship stronger? Take things more from a positive sense. That's how I see it. But yeah, the queen, especially the queen of clubs here. Yeah, hot, passionate, fiery romantics, power here. Also that of the nurturing mother, a mother fiercely defending her children, even a father fiercely defending his children. All those interpretations can apply. So now we're down to the final card, not part of a series of 3, but a single one, and that is, of course, the King of Clubs. And the kings stand for mastery. Mastery, excellence, also authority, authority for good or authority for bad. Again, just use your own intuition, apply it to the question, and let your intuition be your guide. But yeah, with the king of clubs here, the element of the king is fire, and the element of the club is fire. So we got a fiery dude being represented here by the king. And yeah, in a love and relationships type reading, that might be referring to a partner that is just a man, just hot, just powerful, passionate in many different ways. Not necessarily just sexual, but he could be very intense and very passionate about a great many things. Politics, religion, finances, anything and everything. Any part of human creation or endeavor that a person could be passionate about, the king here could represent a person of authority, of mastery, of great depth of knowledge, and also great passion. about, what it is that he's up to, what it is that he knows, what it is that he does. So, yes, this could be a very enlightened master with a lot of passion in what he does, or giving it more of a negative slant. It could be applied to a person that is just all in it for the money, all in it for the power, a psychopath who doesn't care who he has to hurt in order to get what he wants. Take all those positive attributes, turn them upside down, and yeah, then you've got the dark side of the king right there. So, anyway, that concludes the how to do cartomancy with the suit of clubs here. We'll be back with hearts coming up next, and that'll be in our next video. Till then, take care, have fun, and we'll talk later. Bye-bye.